Hello and welcome to Dark Chronicles SL, the channel where we unravel the most haunting, mysterious, and thought-provoking true crime stories from around the world. I'm your host, and today, we're diving into a case that has left an indelible mark on the city of Austin, Texas, a case that remains one of the most baffling and heartbreaking unsolved crimes in American history, the yogurt shop murders. On the evening of December 6, 1991, for young girls Eliza Thomas, Jennifer Harbison, Sarah Harbison, and Amy Ayers were closing up the "I Can't Believe It's Yogurt" shop in Austin. What should have been an ordinary Friday night turned into a nightmare. The girls were bound, gagged, sexually assaulted, and shot execution style. The shop was then set on fire in an attempt to destroy the evidence. When firefighters arrived, they discovered the horrifying scene. For innocent lives brutally taken, and a community left in shock. The crime was so heinous, so senseless, that it shook Austin to its core. Despite one of the largest investigations in Austin's history, the case quickly grew cold. Years later, 4 suspects were arrested, and 2 even confessed. But their confessions were later recanted, and DNA evidence from the crime scene didn't match any of them. The real killers remain at large, and the case is still unsolved over 3 decades later. This is a story of shattered innocence, a flawed justice system, and a community's relentless search for answers. It's a story that forces us to confront the darkest corners of human nature and the lingering pain of unresolved tragedy. The yogurt shop murders aren't just a true crime case, they're a reminder of how fragile life can be and how justice can sometimes slip through the cracks. It's a story that demands to be told, not just for the sake of the victims and their families, but for all of us who seek to understand the complexities of crime, loss, and the pursuit of truth. In this video, we'll explore the chilling details of the crime, the investigation's twists and turns, and the lingering questions that still haunt Austin to this day. We'll also hear from those closest to the case and examine how this tragedy changed the city forever. So, if you're ready to step into the shadows and uncover one of the most haunting mysteries in true crime history, hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and let's get started. This is Dark Chronicles SL, where the past meets the present, and the stories we tell are anything but ordinary. Let's begin. Yogurt shop murders, in a way that feels like we're sitting around a campfire, with all the chilling details and emotional weight it deserves. This is a story that still haunts Austin, Texas, to this day. It was a cool December evening in 1991, just a few weeks before Christmas. The "I Can't Believe It's Yogurt" shop in Austin was a cozy little spot where teenagers hung out after school, grabbing frozen treats and chatting with friends. But on December 6, 1991, this ordinary yogurt shop became the scene of one of the most horrifying crimes in Texas history. 4 girls were working that night. Eliza Thomas, 17, a high school senior with a bright future. Jennifer Harbison, 17, her co-worker and friend. Sarah Harbison, 15, Jennifer's younger sister, who was just visiting the shop. Amy Ayers, 13, a bubbly middle schooler who was friends with the Harbison sisters. They were just kids, bright, kind, and full of life. But by the end of the night, their lives would be tragically cut short. Around 10:30 p.m., a passerby noticed smoke billowing out of the yogurt shop. Firefighters rushed to the scene, expecting to put out a routine fire. But what they found inside was anything but routine. The shop was engulfed in flames, and as they fought the fire, they made a horrifying discovery. The bodies of 4 girls, bound, gagged, and shot in the head. The scene was unimaginable. The girls had been executed in cold blood, and the shop had been set on fire to cover up the crime. Investigators later determined that the girls had also been sexually assaulted before they were killed. The brutality of the crime sent shockwaves through Austin, a city that prided itself on being safe and tight-knit. The Austin Police Department launched one of the largest investigations in the city's history, but the case was a nightmare from the start. The fire had destroyed much of the evidence, and the crime scene was a mess of water, ash, and debris. Detectives were left with very little to go on. Witnesses reported seeing 2 or 3 young men near the shop that night, but the descriptions were vague. A composite sketch was released, but it didn't lead to any immediate arrests. The case went cold for years, leaving the community on edge and the victims' families desperate for answers. The breakthrough that wasn't. In 1999, nearly 8 years after the murders, police thought they had finally cracked the case. 4 suspects were arrested. Robert Springsteen confessed to the murders but later claimed he was coerced by police. Michael Scott also confessed but recanted, saying he was pressured into it. Maurice Pierce, a suspect who was never charged due to lack of evidence. Forrest Wellborn, another suspect who was never charged. Springsteen and Scott were both convicted in separate trials, largely based on their confessions. But here's the twist. DNA evidence from the crime scene didn't match either of them. This raised serious doubts about their guilt. In 2006, Springsteen's conviction was overturned, and charges against Scott were eventually dropped. The other 2 suspects were never formally charged. To this day, the yogurt shop murders remain unsolved. Advances in DNA technology have given investigators new hope, but so far, no definitive matches have been found. The case is a haunting reminder of how fragile justice can be, especially when evidence is scarce or mishandled. The families of Eliza, Jennifer, Sarah, and Amy have never gotten closure. They've spent decades living with the pain of losing their loved ones in such a brutal and senseless way. The Austin community, too, has been forever changed by the tragedy. The yogurt shop was torn down years ago, but the memory of that night still lingers. What makes this story so chilling isn't just the brutality of the crime, it's the fact that, after all these years, no one has been held accountable. The girls were just teenagers, doing their jobs on an ordinary Friday night. They had dreams, families, and futures that were stolen from them in the most horrific way imaginable. The yogurt shop murders are a stark reminder that evil can strike anywhere, even in the most ordinary places. And while the case may never be solved, the memory of Eliza, Jennifer, Sarah, and Amy lives on. Their story is a call for justice, a plea for answers, and a testament to the resilience of a community that refuses to forget. So, there you have it, a story that's as heartbreaking as it is terrifying. It's a reminder to hold your loved ones close and to never take a single moment for granted. Because sometimes, the unthinkable happens, and it changes everything.